I'm Davy. I'm awesome. And welcome to Davy's Awesome Movies, where I review the styles of movies that I love, the alternative, B-rated, cold style flicks. And this movie is definitely a B-rated movie. This movie was released in 1984, and it was written and directed by Avi Nestor, based on the book She, A History of Adventure by H. Rider Haggard, produced by Renato Dandy, made by Continental Motion Pictures, Royal Films BV, Transworld Entertainment, and distributed by MGM. Ladies and gentlemen, She. The movie opens with some graphics that made me think I was about to watch a Billy Idol music video. But then I remembered that this movie was way too low budget for an 80s music video. Then we see that this is the 23rd year after the cancellation. You may be asking, what is the cancellation? I don't know what that is. Neither do I! Throughout the entire movie, they mention the cancellation, but they never tell us exactly what happened. I'm just gonna have to take a stab in the dark and say it's whatever caused the post-apocalyptic future. Then we go to two brothers and their sister in a marketplace. And we see some cereal boxes from the 80s. Considering those boxes are clearly from the 80s and this cancellation apparently was 23 years ago, I'm guessing that stuff's expired. But then this marketplace gets some unwanted guests. This group of warriors are called the Norks. They're supposed to be these badass marauders wearing a type of swastika on everything they have. Even though they don't ever in the movie mention anything that sounds like a Nazi idealistic thing, but whatever. And not only that, but calling themselves the Norks. I hear that name and I think of like some 80s cartoon show. The Nork Dorks go after Tom and Dick and their sister Harry. You heard that right. Two guys and a girl. Tom, Dick, and Harry. Avi Nestor was trying so hard with this script. I get this is supposed to be a post-apocalyptic future, but this really does just look like they were filming a bunch of dorks live-action role-playing or something. It's almost like the director had told them, like, hey, if you can come up with your own weird costume, you can be in the movie. To further illustrate my point, they are overpowered, so their sister Hari gets caught. Couldn't try a net or something? Then we go to another kingdom. They all said it! But who exactly is she? She is Sandal Bergman, who most people remember from Conan the Barbarian. Unless you're into B movies like I am, then you probably know her from movies like Hell Comes to Frogtown. She is the goddess of this land, which is basically the queen of this land. And you know what? This wouldn't be the last time she'd play a queen. After this pointless scene, we see Tom and Dick wandering through this particular land looking for their sister, and Tom sees she riding her horse and decides he needs it. This isn't going to end well for him. They go into another market and meet a woman who never speaks to them, just kind of nods like, hey, come in and I'll give you food. When they go into her home, they finally start speaking by asking who the law is in this land so they can report what happened to their sister.
Allah is she, the goddess.
Which means you're going to have some explaining to do.
What's wrong?
Oh, I totally didn't see that coming. Dick wakes up with that woman's pigs, whereas Tom was given to she. His punishment, she blindfolds him and forces him to walk through this path of sharpened logs, while her soldiers push him into these logs and they pierce him and scratch him and cut him. Because this movie was so low budget, they couldn't afford like charcoal to pretend to be like hot coals or some fake glass or something for him to walk through. No, they had to go like, hey, there's logs over there. After he gets through, they walk away and leave him for dead. But Tom doesn't die. In fact, after a little rest, he gets up and he's perfectly fine. No cuts, no scars, nothing. So he goes to get Dick.
All right.
That totally landed. Then, in a scene that they obviously threw in just for filler, she goes and fights 5 different guys just to get to some place where she can bathe and heal from the fight that she just had. Again, there's really no point to this at all. None. But then again, there's really no point to this movie at all. So, whatever.
You are whole again.
Sure. So now she goes to bed. Apparently surviving the path didn't make you learn anything. But why did they take she?
I gotta know which way to go!
Yeah, because I'm sure she would cooperate right now. They camp out for the night in an abandoned building. When they wake up...
Tom?
Don't worry, in a future where there's no electricity, no vehicles, no guns, I'm sure they don't have gas for those chainsaws.
Long time no see, Goddess.
Cut me loose, Cram.
They take him to a room, and she tells their leader, Cram, that she was counting on their help.
That wasn't very smart of you, was it?
Okay, it wasn't very smart of her to be in this movie, either. But Cram says he'll let them out soon.
Cute. Real cute.
If you weren't claustrophobic, you are now. But luckily, she's soldiers led by Shanda, which, yes, that was very difficult to say, were looking for her, stumbled upon the building, figured she must be in there, found the room, and pushed the buttons to open the door.
Are you okay?
They could go for stretching their legs. As far as Cram...
What do you want me to do with him?
Turn him loose.
Really? Just gonna let him go? After he tried to crush you to death? Could have at least gotten a little angry, been like, hey, cram it! As far as Dick and Tom...
Nork Valley is that way.
Apparently she is in a very merciful mood today. All she does is point them in the right direction. But then decides to follow them. Tom and Dick find a curious group.
Friends, we have some visitors.
Greeks? Tom and Dick just want directions and then to leave.
We insist you stay at least one night with us.
Oh, hell no! But they agree and stay for dinner. And everybody gets dressed up.
This is what the world used to be like before the cancellation.
No, it wasn't. But then that night, when everybody goes to sleep, in the same room, all over each other, they all get those vampire teeth they sell on Halloween. But thankfully for Dick and Tom, she and Shanda followed them and saved their lives. Although I don't know why they didn't do that sooner. Also, if you wanted to make sure they were okay, why didn't you just escort them to the Nork Valley in the first place? Then they start passing through the land of Godan, which is fitting. They're all over the place. This movie's all over the place. So why not? And of course, Godan's servants capture the four of them, because apparently in this post-apocalyptic future, no one is allowed to travel. When they get to Godan's palace...
Bow to Godan!
When Godan shows up, Shandor tries to attack him.
Dare you! Let me down!
My God! You can totally tell she's on a harness. Tom and Dick pretend to be worshippers of Godan, so he spares them. As for she and Chandra, they are sentenced to be tortured with extremely light whippings. But as she is being tortured, Godan is impressed by the fact that she hasn't screamed or even shown any semblance of pain.
I wish to study her spirit.
There's nothing to study. You wouldn't scream either if all they did was lightly brush you with those things. After they take she away, they start in on Chandra. But Dick and Tom come in to rescue her, because pretending to be his worshipper was just a way to get on the inside. After they free Chandra, they go looking for Godan's room.
I'll take you to Godan.
That's awfully helpful of you. When they get to Godan... Man, these effects! George Lucas can suck it! Oh yeah! Godan tells Ava to kill the three of them, but she is going to be spared, because she will be his. Somebody's jealous.
We believe in you!
So much we talk like sheep. But before Godan dies... Well, I guess this problem is solved.
I've mastered your god, accept me! Now!
Wow. She is taking credit for something she had absolutely nothing to do with. You really are a monarch. Of course, everyone accepts this. She's their new goddess. So they bow to her. And then her, Dick, Tom, and Chandra continue on their path to the Nork Dorks.
What's wrong?
Well, for starters, I'm watching She.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
I'll bet you do. You're in it. Then they meet another foe. Why not? They best the giant man in the pink tutu, but then a fog rolls in. A fog that they cannot outrun that is knocking everybody unconscious. When they awake, they awaken in these very flimsy plastic tubes that they can't get out of, despite the fact that they look like you could just very easily grab an end and rip them right open. It really doesn't look that secure. But among them, Tom is missing.
Unless one of the sweet girls' name is Tom, we have no Tom here.
Holy crap, the costumes in this movie! Tom is the only one who got away. The scientist makes a deal with She. He's going to let Shanda go with the giant Rudolph to go retrieve a crystal from She's kingdom. In exchange, he will let them go. Then the scientist goes to take a nap, so She gets a plan of how to get out of there. She knocks over a furnace, and it starts a fire. The fire melts this flimsy plastic so that She and Dick can get out of there. Even though, again, could have just pulled it. Saved yourself a lot of time, a lot of effort. Not to mention, I'm pretty sure you got burned a little bit because that plastic, when it's melting, it gets all over the place. Tom, instead of going back and trying to save his brother and She, he just continued on to the Nork Dorks. When he encounters a bridge he has to cross to get to the Nork Dorks. But it's being guarded by a man named Xenon.
And you will not cross the bridge!
I'm not going to say anything. It's fitting with the rest of this movie. Because Xenon won't let him pass, Tom chops his arm off. Seems a little harsh. Every time Xenon loses a limb or something, he multiplies.
Sure.
Yeah, I know, but let's just get on with it. So Tom hacks at both Xenons.
You dirty rat! I'll get you for that shit!
But now made 4. It's like while he was writing the script, Avi Nesher had somebody in the room going, "Hey, can you get more ridiculous?" So what does Tom do now that there's 4 of them? Tom's not very smart. And by the way, Tom, both your deodorant and your toothpaste suck. Then it just simply cuts to She and Dick, who are now getting to the bridge. We don't know what happened to Tom.
Green Acres is the place to be.
Well, at least it's back to 1 Xenon. Of course, Xenon gives them problems with his nuttiness. So Dick, like his brother, cuts off Xenon's arm. But luckily, this is all it took for She to figure out that hacking at him is not a good idea. Tom. So She tells Dick, throw 1 Xenon over one side of the bridge, while she throws the other one over the other side.
I don't take a fall for anybody! It's nobody's fault, man!
Let's just keep going. They are now in the fortress of the Norks, which confirms that they are dorks. She gets very angry, though, when she sees a bunch of women in cages next to beds, i.e. insinuating these are their sex slaves. So She is going to infiltrate. Amazingly, nobody noticed. They go into a dining hall, and as it turns out, these men are not Norks. They are dorks trying to be Norks.
This is the life of the Norks. Food, women, and war.
Sounds good, but do I really have to dress that stupid? Hector, the captain dork, takes all these men to an arena where they are going to fight for the right to be a Nork. Then we meet the head dork, the leader of the dorks. And he's got Hari, Tom and Dick's sister.
Sit down.
So now, the initiation is that everybody must fight until there are only 2 men remaining because they've only got 2 slots to be a Nork dork. When it gets down to 3, it is finally revealed. Tom! Tom got away from Xenon. But we don't know how. They don't even explain how. He just got away and the movie basically says, deal with it. Then again, that could have been the tagline for this movie while they were advertising. She. Deal with it. Sure, it's not like Hari was chained up or anything. This angers the lead dork. And he says because of this, he is going to send his warriors to attack She's kingdom.
By sunset, your people will be my slave.
Is he supposed to be intimidating? Because he's not. He looks like a cross between Lord Helmet from Spaceballs and the Zodiac Killer.
I spare your life, but your people are doomed.
Yeah, because that makes sense. The four of them, she, Hari, Tom, and Dick, start setting up to fight the narc dorks right at their own gates. Even though that's 4 against an army, which is stupid. Anybody with a brain would have just rushed back to her kingdom and attempt to get her army ready before they invade. Because it's much easier to defend your keep, but hey, nothing else in this movie has made sense, so why start now?
What do you think?
About what?
Come on, you like her?
Yeah, I do.
Is this really the time to randomly throw this out? Now, the dorks come out! Who apparently were not watching the entire time these guys were setting up right in front of their gate. They fight off the dorks in some very cartoonish ways. However, despite all the setup, there are still only 4 of them, so they could only fight off the dorks for so long. But then... Shanda shows up with her army! And Rudolph! Who I guess is on their side now? I mean... Whatever. Keep going.
We'll meet next time, goddess!
Thank God they would not meet next time. So now Tom and Dick have their sister Hari back. They can leave. But Dick decides he's going to stay in the kingdom of She.
You take care of yourself, huh?
I'll take care of him.
Sure. It's not like that was just thrown out of nowhere. Not only that, She and Tom share a longing look. Even though they had absolutely no chemistry, throughout the entire movie they barely spoke to each other, and the only thing that ever indicated any type of romantic feelings between the two of them was that one line that I showed you earlier.
You coming?
You know, Tom and Hari could stay instead of traveling on, because apparently traveling in this post-apocalyptic future is basically a death sentence. You could just stay, live there, have some security, marry She. Guys could be She and he.
Yeah.
So there you have it. That's She, the 1984 version. I actually have to say the 1984 version because this is the 4th movie out of 6 named She. The first one was in 1925, second was in 1935, then again in 1965. 3 years later in 1968, there was a sequel to that one called The Vengeance of She. This one, and then so far the last movie to be called She, was made in 2001. Obviously, as you can tell, this movie didn't have any real box office, as it was a straight-to-video and Cinemax movie. And to this day, She 1984 does not get good reviews. And I can't blame them. This movie's freaking terrible. The acting is god-awful, the script has absolutely nothing original about it. It's like they took every post-apocalyptic and every cliche from sci-fi, fantasy, adventure movies, put them together, and went, sure. The chemistry between the characters is almost non-existent. The only 2 characters that really have any real chemistry are She and Shanda. Not to mention, on a personal note, reviewing this movie is terrible. I don't recommend it because it is really hard to constantly say all these things. The entire time reviewing, it feels like I'm trying to say Sally sells she shells by the seashore. However, Sandal Bergman took this part a little bit seriously, as she insisted on using real swords for this movie, as if that somehow made this movie a little bit good. It didn't. This movie's terrible. However, a couple of reviewers have said that the only way that this movie could be enjoyed is by laughing at how funny the acting, production, and overall story is. Which is how I recommend this movie. Take it for what it is. It's a terrible, low-budget movie, but it's one of those that is so freaking bad that it's entertaining. It's funny. You're going to laugh your butt off watching She. So on that note, if you're like me and you just like movies that are so god-awful they're entertaining, then check out She, 1984. So there you have it. That's my movie review this week. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and if you did, make sure to hit like, hit subscribe, hit that little bell so you get notifications when I post my videos, and leave a comment. Tell me what you thought of She 1984. Tell me if you like any of the other She movies better. Love you guys.